Hello and welcome to Framingham Now. I'm Jack Patrick Lewis, State Representative for the town of Ashland and one of the reps right here in Framingham. As many of you know, we lost a great friend a couple months ago in Rep. Chris Walsh. Chris loved Framingham and worked hard for Framingham, and we will not soon forget his contributions to our city or his contributions to the greater Commonwealth. His district, though, needs representation, and it needs an advocate. And the race is already underway for who will continue the hard work that Chris started. Today, I'm continuing that conversation with Mary Kate Feeney, one of the folks running for this seat that Chris had for so many years. Thank you so much, Mary Kate, for joining us.
Thank you, Jack.
I know a lot of people already know you. You've been out there knocking on doors, but why are you running for state rep?
Well, first off, thank you again for having me on the show, and thank you so much for your work, especially in Chris's absence. And I know it's rush time for you in the legislature, so thank you again. I'm running because of Framingham. Framingham was a great place to grow up. I have very fond memories of riding my bike in Callahan State Park and playing baseball in our ball fields. And it's here where I developed my values, preserving open space, investing in education, helping out our neighbor, and leaving our community a better place for future generations. And it's those hometown values that I took with me to Beacon Hill as I began my service for the public working for Deval Patrick. And I started in his constituent services office, working with residents to connect them to solve their problems that they were having with government, whether it was about taxes or health care or the RMV. And connecting them with the agencies so we can come to a consensus, solve those problems, and make their lives better. I also worked with advocates to listen to their concerns and share that with the governor, whether it was about a bill that was on his desk or something that they felt was a problem in government and that he needed to address, whether it was in the executive offices or in any of the other agencies. So being on the front lines of government really gave me and opened up my eyes to the importance of government and how it is a force for good in people's lives. And how important it is to have an advocate on Beacon Hill, just like you said, and you're doing a great job, but you need help. Who's going to be that person who's there to represent the people of Framingham? Who's going to be that voice? Who's going to be the one that stands up for what our needs are, right? Policy is important and voting the right way, but we cannot forget the people who send us there. And I love Framingham, and I want to be that advocate and that voice. Going door to door has been great. We've been having great conversations. And on the back of all of my palm cards, I have my telephone number and my email address. And I tell people, call me, send me an email, tell me what your thoughts are, what's your questions. And I want to be that accessible as representative as well, because I think that's important. That is the role of a representative.
Well, you said the T word. You mentioned taxes, so let's go down that road together. And it's one of the things I love talking about, and how I got elected, I'm not sure, but because I love talking about taxes so much. One of the things that was proposed was this millionaire's tax.
Yes.
In order to add an additional tax on incomes over $1 million to support education and transportation. And while that will not be on the ballot this November, I'm curious what your thoughts and proposals are as it relates to fully funding essential services.
Right. Well, I support that fair share amendment, and I'm disappointed that it was struck down and it's not going to be on the ballot. I really felt that was something the voters should have an opinion on. I do believe that Massachusetts needs a graduated tax system because we have to invest in our transportation and in our education. Our transportation system is overburdened and crumbling, and we need to invest in our kids' futures. So I think we need to look into that. We also need to look at the Chapter 70 funding formula. It's remained untouched for 25 years. Well, life has changed a lot since 1993, and we need to look at special ed, English language learners, low-income students, and make sure that the funding reflects that. The formula gives out the money, but it doesn't take into account how the money is spent. And I know that the House just did $500 million over 5 years funding for special ed and for employee health insurance, but left out English language learners and low-income students, and it sent it to study. Well, what is there to study? You only get to do second grade once. We need to make sure that second grader has the best experience in second grade, and that the teachers and the students have the resources. So we need to look at that. And with transportation, the same thing. What we have now is unsustainable. I'm really interested in Senator Lesser's bill about ballot initiatives for regional transit authorities.
Chris used to talk about this as well.
Yes, this is a great idea. You know, it will allow municipalities to join together to have ballot initiatives for funding for their regional transit. It gives ownership to the municipalities for their transit and gives them the ability to invest in it. I think we need to look at creative ideas like that as well.
I couldn't agree more. And around the Chapter 70, we're optimistic that when it goes to conference committee, the Senate language will hopefully win out.
I hope so
when
too.
it comes. And if you are elected, you'll find that in the House we have colleagues of diverse opinions, and ultimately what comes before us to vote on isn't necessarily what we would have written ourselves. And we work to tweak and to amend, but yes, more needs to be done.
Absolutely.
And towns like Framingham, or cities like Framingham, know that firsthand. I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about folks who rely on the state for additional supports. Free and reduced lunch, for example. What is provided isn't sufficient, in my opinion, to allow a family to bridge the gap between what they have and what they need. And I'm curious what you think could be done or should be done in the Commonwealth to support all of our families.
Well, I think the big thing is we need to lift the cap. So in 1995, law went into effect saying that any family who has a child born after they start getting assistance, they are unable to receive funding to cover that child. And it was put in as a way to deter families from growing, but it has done the opposite. In fact, women have not stopped having children. The only people who are suffering are the kids themselves. And it's $100, which on average, which, you know, doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. It's diapers and it's food and it's clothes and supplies and all the things that come with children. So we need to do that. We need to get rid of that. We need to give those supports to those families. It's unfair, and it's actually, I think it's cruel.
One of the things we've also done in Massachusetts is we've tried to lower the gender pay gap, but it's 2018, it's Massachusetts, and there's so much more yet to be done on the gender pay gap, the racial pay gap, and I'm curious what your thoughts are and what we can do as a Commonwealth and what you would do as a state rep to ensure that we live into the promise we've made to all of our workers.
Well, it's great that this month the pay equity bill went into effect. That's wonderful. Glad that Massachusetts is one of the states that's, you know, doing that. But I was just reading recently in the New York Times, and NPR had an article about it, what they're doing in Boston, which I think is fascinating, through the Boston Women's Opportunity Council. And Mayor Walsh has been a leader in this. They have worked with about 7,000 women to date and hundreds of companies about teaching them about negotiation and how to deal with the situations about negotiating for your salary or packages. And it's been very helpful for women. And they're holding it in public libraries and other nonprofits and making it very accessible. I mean, women are making 76 cents on the dollar across board. And it gets, when you get into minority women, the numbers go down. I think African American women make 49 cents on the dollar. So by giving women the tools and the encouragement and the strength to take a stand and to know that, in fact, if you stand up and say, no, this is what I'd like for a salary, you're not going to lose your job over that. We don't have the same, you know, oomph that some men have in that. So I think the Boston program is a great example for other municipalities. I'd love to see Framingham do the same thing. They're also asking businesses, there's hundreds that are involved, that they're anonymously reporting what their salary trends rates are so that the city can see what the trends are and whether or not the program is working. So far, the results, women are feeling great, and there are results happening. And it's something that as a Commonwealth, we should really look into and having those programs, but Framingham definitely should adopt something as well. And as state rep, I want to bring that to here and talk to the people in Boston and connect them with people here in Framingham.
Let's shift gears maybe in a major way and talk a little bit about the environment. Let's go from pay gap to, well, as an elected official, as a state rep, your salary will be set by the Constitution, so you won't be able to advocate in the same way that you would in other places.
No, but I just want to say one thing about that, is that I hope that the Commonwealth as well is not just talking the talk, but is walking the walk. As someone who was a former state employee, I saw plenty of examples where things were not even. So we need to make sure that the state government is doing what we're asking businesses to do, and to make sure that women are being paid equally as well. That's very important, and that's what we can do as legislators, is to make sure that that is happening. And so it's got to be everywhere.
And we need to model it. And one of the other things we can hopefully reflect on over time is ensuring that our staff are not only paid equitably across racial lines and gender lines, but a competitive wage that they are able to stay with it, and that government employment isn't just a stepping stone to something else, but people who love it and feel a calling for it can raise a family and survive on it. And I can say entry salary for this sort of employment for our staff does not do that.
No, and I remember those days being a college student, and I just made the percentages of the federal poverty line sometimes, and I understand that, and we do need to make those efforts.
When you're getting out of college and you're not used to making more than a little bit here, a little bit there, and you have student debt, and someone offers you something that looks really great, in reality, after you do the calculations about rent and everything,
I was thrilled.
Yes. So I was shifting gears, environment.
Yes.
Massachusetts has been ambitious in setting reduction standards by like 2030, 2040, 2050. I think that's wonderful, but I sometimes worry that when we talk about dates like 2050, it's easier because it's so far down the road that we're not necessarily going to be the ones held accountable in 2050. I don't even want to do the math to see how old I'll be in 2050 and what I'll be doing, if I'll be doing anything. But what would you do on day one in the here and now to advocate for clean jobs, renewable resources, making sure that Massachusetts walks the walk that'll get us to these far down the road dates like 2050?
Yeah, I don't want to think about 2050 either, but I think we'll be in a much better place by 2050. When it comes to clean energy, I do support these initiatives. I think that Massachusetts needs to continue to be a leader in the use of clean energy, the green jobs. Absolutely, we need to do these sort of things. And so as a legislator, I'll be there right there to co-sponsor, to vote yes, anything I could do to make sure that we are taking the jobs of the future, that they're here in the Commonwealth, and that the Commonwealth is using the energy that's produced by those jobs to make everything better for our Commonwealth. But the thing is about clean energy that we have to keep in mind is that regardless of where you are if you're an energy company, clean energy company, or you're a fossil fuel company, you're concerned about the bottom line. So we need to make sure that we don't lose sight of the consumer, to make sure that they are getting the rates that they're guaranteed, that the marketing promised, and that they have incentives to invest in this as well. Because I think in this conversation, we lose the consumer. We forget about the homeowner who wants to improve the environment, but make it a little easier on their bills as well. And we've been seeing that with caps and rates and pulling back up. Sorry, wait a minute, you're not going to get that number. We can't lose sight of that. And on another note, we can't lose sight of the other environmental issues as well. Here in Framingham, we're losing open space at a very fast rate. Massachusetts is as well. We have the Sudbury River that goes through our community, and it's being choked by the water chestnuts, and there's trash that needs to be cleaned up, and those residents want to do something about it, and they're looking for leadership there. And we also have environmental justice issues, which I know a lot are in your district, and you're doing work on that. But I see myself as, if I'm lucky to be a representative, to be your partner in that and to bring attention to those issues, that we need to clean them up. So we need a leader who's going to take and be vocal about those three issues and clean energy as well. It's not an and or. We've got to work on all of these things, because if we don't, 2050 may not be as clean and wonderful and green as we are hoping it to be.
And I can tell you that the reps that represent Framingham and surrounding reps like David Linsky and Carolyn Dykema, and then Carmen Gentile, who represents a small piece of Framingham, the five of us with Chris, work together very closely.
Yep.
And we're looking for somebody who is going to continue to work together with us as a House delegation, because while I represent a certain part of Framingham and you would represent a different part of Framingham and David represents Natick, our constituents cross these lines every day.
Absolutely.
And if FSU is successful, it means that not just your district was successful, but all of the entire community and region is. And same thing when it comes to these environmental issues. We would be looking to partner, even, it's not that, oh, that's in your district, that's your issue to deal with.
Right.
We all have to work together. If it's FSU, Mass Bay, if it's an environmental issue, if it's something related to the city or town. And I think you're spot on with that we would be looking for support. Because our constituents don't necessarily know or care where these lines are drawn.
Right.
It affects who your formal state rep is and where you vote. But at the end of the day, we all have to work together as a community and as a region. And if we don't do that successfully, then it doesn't matter if you look really good or I look really good.
Right.
If Framingham's not going in the right direction. I want to continue this conversation about the environment as it relates to transportation.
Yes.
So many of our constituents spend a good 3 hours a day in traffic on the Pike,
Yep.
or 2+ hours a day on the commuter rail.
Yes.
Hoping that it arrives on time, hoping that it's not too hot or that it's not too cold, or not that it's raining.
Right.
I'm curious what your thoughts are about improving transportation system.
Yes, well, it's funny you ask, because I just wrote an op-ed for the Framingham Source.
I saw it online before
Yes,
I came here.
That was published this past weekend, and it's on my website. And so transportation is really important to me. I mean, I was a commuter when I worked for the state. I took the train in every day. I've been through every situation: slippery rail, hot rail, late train, delayed train, no AC. And, if we want to have a thriving economy, and it's about a quality of life issue for our communities, we have to invest in transportation. Our systems, like we were talking before about taxes, so our transportation system is overburdened and it's crumbling. And sometimes I have to drive into the city and it's time lost, my patients tested, and gas wasted, and it's not productive. So we need to find, and this is why I was also supporting the Fair Share Act, like I said before, a way to invest in the MBTA. We need more trains. I like commuting on the train, regardless of all the issues, because I know I could do some work, I could have a relaxing time, and get into Boston within a half hour, 45 minutes if all goes well. Well, everyone should have that same experience, and that we should have more trains that connect us. We are halfway between Boston and Worcester, so we need to do that. Second thing, talk about the regional transit authorities. We have the great MWTRA. We need to address issues about demand. So evening service, weekend service, the buses still do not run on Sundays, and that's a big problem for those who work in the service industry who depend on that bus. And that's why I like, as I said, Senator Lesser's bill that would give us here in Framingham the ability to put more money into that if we chose to do so through a ballot initiative. And expanding that also gives our residents more, instead of using their cars, they can get on the bus and they can go to Shoppers World. That would be great. Another thing is I support the off-peak toll discounts as a way to reduce traffic on the Pike. Because I know that people have to go, your job's 9 to 5, so you may be stuck doing that. But there are other people who can commute in off times, and we should encourage that. And I think that will help with traffic congestion, which something needs to be done there, because what now we've got is not sustainable. And I think we also need to look at other issues when it comes to transportation with our local state roads. And so that's looking at and getting MassDOT to actually pay attention to what's happening on Route 9 and 126 with the flooding. There's an accident that's going to happen there. Someone's going to get hurt. Is it then when we're going to do something, or can we do something about that beforehand? The delegation got MassDOT to have put some attention on Route 9 and Prospect. So hopefully that solves some problems. But if it doesn't, we need to keep pressure on them to make sure that no one dies there again. And there are other issues like that the state has a responsibility to take care of its roads, and we need to make sure that they know about it.
So I want to shift gears again and have
keep them on my toes.
Yeah,
Jack.
lean into a new component of Framingham now.
Okay.
The lightning round.
Oh yes.
In politics, we can be asked a question and spend 30 minutes giving an answer. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of things begin as strong convictions, like I am opposed or I'm in favor of that. And then legislation requires compromise and conversations. But at the end of the day, you're provided with a bill where you have the option of voting yes, voting no, or pretending to be absent and wandering the halls so that no one actually knows what you think. Don't do that.
I won't do that.
So I have a series of 12 questions that I'm asking all the candidates, and I'm urging you to answer yes or no.
Okay.
If I ask you if you like dogs, you say
yes.
Yes, because you're a nice person.
Yes.
Not yes, I really, really love bulldogs. Do you like ice cream?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So
chocolate.
Oh, see, the ding, 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 lightning will strike. So try yes or no.
Okay.
We'll see if we can go. Would you support requiring companies that receive tax credits from the Commonwealth to pay a living wage and provide good benefits to their employees?
Yes.
Do you support single-payer health insurance in the Commonwealth?
No.
Excellent. Maybe we'll come back to that
We'll
one.
come back to that one.
Would you join workers in their strike or picket line for better working conditions?
Yes, my uncle's currently striking.
Oh my gosh, do you support the president's initiative to ban immigrants from certain countries from entering the U.S.?
No.
Do you support a woman's right to choose?
Yes.
Do you support the death penalty?
No.
Do you support allowing citizens to register and vote on election day?
Yes.
Do you support what we did in the legislature, increasing the minimum wage to $15
Yes.
an hour? Did you support our banning of conversion therapy for minors earlier this year?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Do you also support paid family medical leave that we passed?
Yes, yes.
Do you support the extreme risk protection order that we passed?
Yes.
Do you support the Safe Communities Act?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to, you resisted the urge to talk on too many of these. Single payer. We only have a couple minutes left, but.
In principle, I believe that people have the right to health care. And I believe we need to make it as affordable and as accessible to people as possible. So in principle, yes, I support single payer. I'm just not there yet that it's the right time for Massachusetts to have that. I think there's a lot of work that we need to do with the system we have. So I'd rather us work on that, make sure that it's affordable and accessible. Excellent. But I am open to it.
And I know one of the ways that we're imagining getting there is conducting a study, a true study, that looks at previous years and asks, if we had a single payer system, would the Commonwealth and would the residents of the Commonwealth have saved money? And that's, I think, the system that more people are in favor of. Let's actually analyze the numbers. Let's see. None of us like to, I was in the emergency room a couple weeks ago. The only fear I had was, is this tier 3? Is this tier 1?
Right.
And I'm having conversations with the doctor and nurses about stupid insurance when I just needed to be quiet and let them do their thing.
I lived in Canada for a while, and that's where I went to college, and I have many Canadian friends. I know how the system works up there. Unfortunately, I've had to use it, and I get how it works, but I do want to see that study and want to make sure that it is saving people in Massachusetts money.
So we only have a couple minutes left, but Mary Kate, I'd like to ask everyone the same question in closing. You're putting yourself out there. You're knocking on doors. Your personal life is no longer your own. Sorry if that's a shock to you.
Nope.
But I'd like to think that running for office doesn't only say something about you, but it says something about the town you're advocating for, in this case, the city of Framingham. In the 1 or 2 minutes we have left, what is it about Framingham that makes it the place that you're willing to put yourself out there for? Well,
as I started off, why I want to be our full-time state representative, and I'm serious about being full-time. I think that's what, Chris Walsh and Barbara Gray and Debbie Blummer, they were all full-time, and Framingham deserves a full-time representative because we are a wonderful, vibrant, diverse community. And as I said, I had very happy memories growing up here. I came back here after college. I didn't have to, but I did. And it's because everyone here is focused on how can we make things better. I've had, a lot of people who run for office say that doors is like kind of their least favorite thing. I'm really enjoying knocking on doors. And I've done hundreds now because I get to meet people, I get to reconnect with people I haven't seen in a long time, and I get to meet new people. And we all get to talk about what we think is important here in Framingham and what our values are. And those things I started this half hour with about open space and education and helping people out, those are Framingham's values. They're deeply inside me. And that's why I want to go to Beacon Hill. And that's why I want to represent this community.
I'm just so grateful that you're putting yourself out there, that you were willing to come on the show and participate in this brand new lightning round.
Yeah, well, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, no, lightning did not strike yet.
No.
If people want to get to know you better, want to learn more about you and your campaign, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to my website, feeneyforframingham.com.
Is it 4 as an F-O-R or the number 4?
Both.
Both?
Either one. I've got both
okay.
URLs. Or they can find me on Facebook, which is Feeney for Framingham. They could also give me a call. My cell phone number, and it is my cell phone number, is 508-733-3153.
And if folks want to vote for you, I want to make sure I'm going to explain it. And if I get it wrong, correct me.
Okay.
So on September 4th, folks go to where they normally would vote.
Correct.
And if they're Democrat or unenrolled in a party, so independent, they should ask if they want to vote for you for a Democratic ballot. As they skim down the ballot, they're going to see the word state rep, and there are going to be no names listed.
Yep.
In order to vote for you, they need to write in Mary Kate Feeney.
Yes.
And fill in the little oval next to you.
Correct.
Where they wrote your name.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
That is correct. And we will also have stickers for
Okay.
people who are, for ease, that they'll have that. They'll just put it on the ballot and make sure that you fill in the oval and you're good to go.
So for folks who, Chris Walsh was your state rep, on September 4th, if you're an unenrolled voter, meaning you're a voter but unenrolled in a party, you can ask for either the Republican ballot or Democratic ballot. If you're a Democrat, you'll ask for the Democratic ballot and the Republican ballot. And if you want to vote for Mary Kate Feeney, you work your way down the ballot and then have to write in Mary Kate's name.
Yes.
Excellent. And so that is September 4th.
It's the Tuesday after Labor Day.
Okay. And folks who may not be home the Tuesday after Labor Day, what should they be doing?
They should be getting an absentee ballot.
Okay. Is that an easy, straightforward process?
It is a very easy, straightforward process. You fill out a form, or you could contact the city clerk's office, and they will help you out. Get an absentee ballot.
So if you think there's even a chance that you're not going to be home the Tuesday after Labor Day,
Yes.
if you think that we might get home really, really late Monday, but maybe it'll be Tuesday morning. In Massachusetts, we do not allow, I believe, absentee voting for no reason. You have to have a conceivable reason.
Correct.
That you imagine that you may not be there, I
Yes.
believe, is one of those reasons.
Yes.
And vote, and then go through the process of voting absentee.
Right.
We will not be doing, correct me if I'm wrong, the same sort of early voting that we did in the last general.
Correct.
Okay. So
Yeah.
folks who really loved voting early last time around,
Can't do it this
no,
time.
that was my understanding as well. And so September 4th, the Tuesday after Labor Day,
Yes.
ask for the Democratic primary ballot,
Yes.
Mary Kate Feeney, and then whichever one of the Democrats gets more write-in votes,
Correct.
will then go on to November 6th.
Yes.
Excellent. I
Yes.
keep saying it out loud so that I can fully understand. It's unusual going into an election where the ballot you get
It
does
is.
not have names
It's
on
a
it.
little more complicated, but we're going to try, my campaign is going to try to make it as easy as possible. If you want to vote for me, to have a sticker and to go through the process.
And
We'll
I think some of
answer
the
any
other
questions.
campaigns will be having stickers as well, which
Yep.
are very legit. I think you still have to do the oval, but then put the sticker
Correct.
right down next to it.
Yep.
Well, Mary Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you,
and I
Jack.
wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
For those tuning in at home, thank you so much. I really do invite you to learn about Mary Kate and to learn about all the candidates. We're interviewing all 5 currently declared candidates, and their videos will be available on Access Television, but also online. Thank you. Until next time.